Olivia Martinez stood at the viewing window of the Arcturus, watching the swirling clouds of planet X-297 below. The blue-green world looked peaceful from orbit. Her job as lieutenant commander meant she had to assess if the planet was worth sending a ground team to explore. "Anything interesting down there, Commander?" asked Alan Parker, the young navigation officer who had joined her crew just 3 months ago. "Hard to tell from up here," Olivia said. "The atmosphere readings are similar to Earth, but there's something odd about the magnetic field patterns." Olivia was 34 years old, with dark hair cut short for practicality and eyes that missed very little. She had served in the space exploration fleet for 12 years, rising quickly through the ranks because of her sharp mind and calm thinking during emergencies. "Should I prepare the scout shuttle?" Alan asked. Olivia shook her head. "Not yet. Let's run a few more scans first." The ship's alarm suddenly blared, making both of them jump. "What's happening?" Olivia demanded, rushing to the main control panel. Susan Wright, the sensor officer, looked up with fear in her eyes. "Unknown ship approaching. It wasn't there a second ago, no warp signature, no engine trails, it just appeared." "Battle stations," Olivia ordered. "Raise shields and—" She never finished her sentence. A bright purple light flooded the bridge. Olivia felt her muscles freeze in place. She couldn't move, couldn't speak. From the corner of her eye, she saw the rest of her crew similarly frozen. The purple light grew brighter, and then darkness took her, cold. That was Olivia's first thought as she woke up. The floor beneath her was smooth and hard. She opened her eyes slowly, careful not to make any sudden movements that might alert whoever had taken her. She was in a small room with white walls. One wall was made of some clear material, like glass, but probably much stronger. Through it, she could see strange figures moving around. They were tall, about 7 feet in height, with thin bodies and limbs that reminded her of praying mantises. Their skin shimmered with colors that shifted like oil on water. Where a human would have a mouth, they had small moving parts that clicked together when they communicated. Olivia stayed still, watching them. They didn't seem to notice she was awake. She took the chance to check herself for injuries. Her uniform was still on, but her communication device and tools were gone. No surprise there. One of the creatures approached the clear wall and looked at her. At least, she thought it was looking at her. Its head had no eyes that she could recognize, just smooth panels that glowed softly. Olivia decided to show she was awake. She sat up slowly, wincing at the stiffness in her muscles. The creature's skin flashed with bright colors. It made quick, clicking sounds and was joined by 2 others. They watched her with what she guessed was intense interest. "Where am I? Who are you?" Olivia asked, not expecting an answer but wanting to see their reaction to human speech. The creatures tilted their heads in unison. Their skin patterns changed, rippling from top to bottom. One touched something on the wall, and a soft humming filled Olivia's cell. For 3 days, this was her life. The creatures would come and go. Sometimes they would introduce strange objects into her cell through a small opening that appeared and disappeared in the wall. They seemed to be testing her reactions. Once they pumped in a gas that made her dizzy. Another time they raised the temperature until she was dripping with sweat, then quickly lowered it until she shivered. Olivia kept her military training in mind. Name, rank, and planet of origin. That was all she would give them. But they never asked questions. They just watched and recorded. On the 4th day, something changed. The tallest of the creatures entered the area outside her cell. It wore something around its neck that the others didn't have. It approached the clear wall and touched a panel. Human female. "You understand sound vibrations as communication?" A metallic voice filled the room. Olivia stood up straight. "Yes, I am Lieutenant Commander Olivia Martinez of the Earth Exploration, Vessel Arcturus." The creature's colors shifted to a deep blue. "I am designated research chief. This translation device is basic. We study you." "Why have you taken me? Where is my crew?" Olivia demanded. "Others returned to ship. Only you kept. You are different." The research chief's colors pulsed. "Humans unusual in galaxy. Most thinking species evolve as hunters, top of food chain. Humans not. Humans were prey animals for a long time in evolution. Yet you become dominant. You adapt. You survive when should not. This interests us. Olivia processed this information carefully. So this is a scientific study? I'm a lab rat to you? Not familiar with this term, lab rat. But yes, you are subject of important research. The chief's colors changed to something softer. We have prepared special test. Will help us understand how humans overcome biological disadvantages. What kind of test? Olivia asked, not liking the sound of this. We have created environment. Inside are predator species from many worlds, most dangerous hunters in known space. You will be placed inside. We will observe how long human survival instincts function against superior predators. Olivia felt cold. Fear spread through her chest. You're going to feed me to aliens' monsters to see how long I last? Feeding not purpose. Observation is purpose. Data is purpose. The chief's colors shifted again. Will likely result in your termination, yes, but knowledge gained will be significant. Two other creatures entered, carrying what looked like weapons. The clear wall of her cell slid open. Please come. Resistance will cause discomfort but not change outcome. The chief gestured toward the open door. Olivia considered fighting but decided against it. Better to save her strength and look for opportunities later. As she was led through winding corridors, she carefully memorized the route, noting security, points, and potential weaknesses in the facility's design. They arrived at a massive round door. Beyond it, Olivia could see trees, rocks, and what looked like a small stream, all inside an enormous dome. Your new testing environment, the chief explained, contains atmosphere suitable for all species inside. Water sources central. Food sources limited but present. How long does this test last? Olivia asked. Until data collection complete. The chief's colors dimmed. For most subjects, this is same as saying, until death occurs. As the guards moved her toward the entrance, Olivia's military training took over. She began cataloging everything useful, the apparent physical weaknesses of her captors, the door mechanisms, the layout of the artificial environment ahead. What these aliens didn't know, couldn't know, was that Olivia wasn't just any space officer. Before her command position, she had graduated from the Special Combat Survival Program, an elite training course that prepared operatives for worst-case scenarios on hostile planets. She had spent 6 months living off-grid in Earth's most dangerous environments and another 3 in simulated alien biospheres. They thought they were putting her in a cage with monsters. They had no idea they had just created the perfect testing ground for what humans did best: adapt, improvise, and overcome impossible odds. The massive door slid open. As Olivia stepped through, she caught a final glimpse of the research chief. Its skin was shifting to a pattern of bright, curious colors. Olivia allowed herself a small smile. In the chief's place, she would be curious too. After all, they were about to learn exactly why humans had survived all those millennia as prey, animals only to become the most dangerous species on their planet. The door sealed behind her with a heavy thud. The test had begun. Olivia stood perfectly still for 5 full minutes after the door sealed behind her. She controlled her breathing and listened carefully to her new surroundings. The artificial forest had many of the same sounds as Earth forests: rustling leaves, running water, and the soft hum of insects. But there were other sounds too, strange ones that made the hair on her neck stand up. She needed to find a safe place first. In survival training, they taught that water, shelter, and safety were the top priorities. The stream would be both a water source and a landmark to help her navigate. Moving as quietly as possible, Olivia made her way toward the sound of running water. She kept low and used the trees for cover. The plants looked somewhat like earth trees, but with blue-green leaves and smoother bark. Probably designed to seem familiar to her while supporting the alien creatures that would be hunting her. She reached the stream after about 15 minutes of careful movement. It was clear and looked clean, flowing from one side of the dome to the other. Olivia knelt and tested the water with her fingertips first, then smelled it. Finding no obvious problems, she took a small sip. It tasted slightly metallic but drinkable. Now for shelter. Olivia looked around for a defensible position. She spotted a cluster of large rocks near a steep embankment about 50 yards upstream. Perfect. It would give her a protected back and good visibility of the surrounding area. As she moved toward the rocks, a flicker of movement caught her eye. Something was watching her from the trees on the other side of the stream. Olivia froze, then slowly crouched down. The creature stepped partially out from behind a tree. It was about the size of a large tiger, but with a body covered in rainbow-colored scales that shifted and changed like the skin of her captors. It had 6 legs instead of 4 and a head that looked too big for its body. Its eyes were yellow with vertical slits, fixed on her with obvious hunger. Olivia didn't move a muscle. The creature sniffed the air, its forked tongue flicking out, to taste her scent. It seemed hesitant to cross the water. Interesting, she thought. It doesn't like water. That's useful to know. After watching her for what felt like an eternity, the creature finally retreated back into the trees. Olivia waited another 10 minutes before moving again, making sure to stay on her side of the stream. She reached the rock formation and quickly examined it. It would work for now. One side was backed against the steep dirt wall, and the rocks formed a small cave-like space that could only be approached from the front. She gathered some branches and created a simple barrier across the opening that would make noise if disturbed. Night was falling, or at least the dome's lighting was dimming to simulate night. Olivia needed tools and weapons. Using a sharp edge on one of the rocks, she cut a straight branch about 5 feet long. She stripped off the smaller branches and sharpened one end against the rock until it formed a decent spear point. It wasn't much, but it was better than nothing. As darkness fell completely, strange sounds echoed through the dome. Howls, chirps, and other noises she couldn't identify. Olivia stayed awake, back pressed against the rock wall, spear ready in her hands. Morning came with a sudden brightening of the dome's lights. Olivia had dozed off only in short bursts, always waking at the slightest sound. She was tired, but alert. Her military training had prepared her for sleep deprivation. She needed to learn more about her prison and its other inhabitants. Keeping her makeshift spear close, she left her shelter and began a careful exploration, always staying near the stream for quick escape. By midday, she had seen 2 more predator species besides the rainbow-scaled creature. One was almost invisible, a transparent thing that clung to tree trunks and seemed to be waiting for prey to walk past. Olivia only noticed it when sunlight hit it just right, creating a faint outline. The other was more obvious. A pack of 3, wolf-like animals with multiple rows of teeth that circled through the forest with frightening speed. They hadn't seen her yet, but their howls suggested they were communicating and hunting as a group. Olivia needed better weapons. The spear was good for defense, but she needed traps and more tools. She found a section of the stream with clay-like mud on the banks. Perfect. She gathered some and used it to attach sharp stones to the end of sticks, creating crude knives and axe heads. Working quickly but carefully, she built her first trap, a tidy pit covered with branches and leaves. She dug it using her stone tools, making it deep enough that the rainbow-scaled creature would have trouble climbing out if it fell in. That night, she heard a commotion near her trap. In the morning, she approached cautiously and found one of the wolf creatures in the pit, snarling and snapping. This was her chance to study it up close. The creature had thick gray fur, 6 legs like the rainbow-scaled beast, and a head that split open to reveal rows of needle-like teeth. Its eyes glowed faintly in the shadows of the pit. Olivia watched it for several minutes, noting how it moved, where its vulnerable points might be. Then, making a difficult decision, she used her spear to kill it quickly. She couldn't risk leaving it alive to alert the others, and she needed to examine it more closely. The creature's hide was tough but could be cut with her stone knife. Its blood was dark purple. Olivia noticed that its eyes were small and its ears large. It probably hunted more by sound than sight. She took some of the hide to strengthen her shelter and make a crude bag for carrying things. Nothing would be wasted. That afternoon, she spotted movement at the top of the dome. Her captors were watching. Good. Let them see what she could do. By the end of the first week, Olivia had created a better shelter higher up in the rocks, with multiple escape routes. She had improved her weapons, adding fiber cord from plant materials to make a bow. She had set more traps around her territory and mapped out most of the dome's layout. She had also identified all 6 predator species in the enclosure. Besides the rainbow-scaled creature, the transparent ambush hunter, and the wolf pack, there was a bird-like creature with paralytic venom in its claws, a massive spider-bear hybrid that could climb anything, and a plant that wasn't a plant at all, but a patient predator that disguised itself as vegetation before grabbing anything that came close. The aliens watching her seemed surprised by her progress. The dome lights would sometimes flicker when she did something particularly clever, like using fire to drive the wolf pack into a narrow canyon where she could drop rocks on them from above. They wanted to see human adaptability. She would show them exactly what that meant. By the end of the second week, Olivia wasn't just surviving. She was hunting the hunters, studying each species and eliminating them one by one. The research chief's colors must be shifting wildly, now she thought with grim satisfaction. They had expected her to die quickly. Instead, she was turning their experiment upside down. As she sat by her fire that night, carefully crafting more arrows, Olivia smiled to herself. The real test was just beginning. 3 weeks into her captivity, Olivia had transformed her situation. What started as a desperate fight for survival had become a calculated campaign against both the predators and her captors. She sat in her main shelter, which was now a sturdy structure built into the rock face. Animal hides covered the entrance, keeping in warmth from her small fire. She had made containers from bark to store fresh water and edible plants she'd found. Weapons lined the walls, spears, knives, a bow with a dozen arrows, and even a crude club studded with sharp stones. But Olivia's most important discovery came during her 3rd week. While tracking the transparent creature to its den, she found something that didn't belong in a natural environment. A small metal panel hidden behind thick vines at the base of the dome wall. It had to be a maintenance access point. The aliens couldn't just drop predators into a closed system without some way to monitor and maintain it. This was her first real clue that escape might be possible. She didn't try to open it immediately. That would alert her captors. Instead, she carefully replaced the vines and pretended she hadn't seen it. She would watch and wait for the right moment. Olivia had already eliminated 3 of the 6 predator species. The wolf pack had been dealt with first. She couldn't risk having organized hunters working together against her. Next was the plant creature, which she destroyed using controlled fires. The rainbow-scaled beast had fallen into an improved pit trap with sharpened stakes at the bottom. That left the transparent stalker, the spider-bear hybrid, and the venomous bird. She could handle them one by one. Today, though, she had a different plan. Olivia had noticed regular patterns in the dome's lighting and temperature. Every 7 days, there was a brief power fluctuation, just a second of dimming lights. She guessed this might be when systems were being checked or reset. The next fluctuation was due today. She wanted to see if her captors would appear during this time. She needed to study them more closely. As expected, the lights dimmed briefly that afternoon. Olivia, hidden in the trees near the main entrance, watched as a section of the dome wall slid open. 3 of the alien creatures entered, wearing what looked like breathing masks and carrying devices she didn't recognize. One was taller than the others. The research chief, she guessed. They moved carefully, taking samples from the plants and soil. They seemed nervous, their skin colors shifting rapidly. They didn't venture far from the entrance, and they carried weapons. They were afraid. Of her. The thought made Olivia smile. She could attack them now, try to escape through that door before it closed. But she wasn't ready yet. She didn't know enough about the facility beyond the dome, or how many more aliens might be waiting outside. Better to gather more information first. The aliens finished their work and left quickly. Before the door closed, Olivia caught a glimpse of the corridor beyond. Bright white walls, more aliens moving around, other doors that might lead to other experimental chambers. Once they were gone, Olivia retrieved a special item she had hidden nearby, a scale from the rainbow beast she had killed. She had noticed something interesting about these scales. They seemed to change color and pattern much like the alien's skin. When held up to the light, they bent it strangely, creating a sort of camouflage effect. Olivia had been collecting these scales carefully. She now had enough to create a small shield that might help hide her from whatever cameras or sensors the aliens were using to watch her. That night, Olivia decided to test another theory. She had noticed that sometimes her captors seemed to miss things she did, especially when she was in certain areas of the dome. There might be blind spots in their monitoring system. Using her scale shield to mask her heat signature, Olivia made her way to the metal panel she had discovered earlier. She worked quickly and quietly, using her stone tools to examine the edges of the panel. It was locked or sealed somehow, but she could see faint seams around its edges. This was definitely an access point of some kind, perhaps with the right leverage. A sudden screech from above made her freeze. The venomous bird had spotted her and was diving down. Olivia rolled away just as its talons slashed where she had been standing. She reached for her bow, but the bird was too fast, banking sharply for another attack. This time Olivia was ready. As the bird dived, she threw her animal hide cloak up to tangle its claws. The bird screeched in confusion as Olivia drove a sharpened stake through its body. The fight was brief, but loud. She needed to move. The noise might draw the other predators, or attention from her captors. Abandoning her examination of the panel, Olivia retreated to one of her backup shelters, dragging the dead bird with her. Its venom might be useful, and she needed to study its body. The next morning, as Olivia extracted venom from the bird's glands using a hollow reed, she noticed unusual movement at the top of the dome. More aliens than usual seemed to be watching. Something had changed. She was right. That afternoon, a voice suddenly filled the dome, the metallic translation of the research chief. Human female. You have survived 23 days. This exceeds previous record by any test subject by 17 days. Command wishes to observe direct interaction. Olivia considered ignoring the voice, but this might be an opportunity to learn more. She stepped into a clearing where she could be easily seen but kept her weapons ready. What kind of interaction? She called out. New specimen will be introduced, different challenge. Command curious about human problem solving when faced with intelligent hunter, not just instinct-driven predators. A new door opened on the far side of the dome, one Olivia hadn't seen before. Something emerged that made her blood run cold. It walked on two legs like a human but was covered in black fur. Its face was flat with no visible eyes, just a mouth filled with needle teeth. It carried what looked like a weapon, a long metal rod that hummed with energy. This is Night Hunter, the chief's voice explained. Created species, designed for tracking and eliminating targets. Enhanced senses, enhanced intelligence. We'll begin hunt in 1 hour. Prepare if you wish. The door closed, leaving Olivia facing this new threat. This wasn't just another animal. This was something designed specifically to hunt her. She needed to think differently now. The rules had changed. The aliens weren't just observing her survival skills anymore. They were actively testing her limits. As the night hunter began methodically exploring the dome, learning the territory, Olivia retreated to plan. The aliens thought they were increasing the difficulty of their experiment. What they didn't realize was that they had just given her a new opportunity. If this creature was intelligent enough to use weapons, it was intelligent enough to be tricked, manipulated, or even communicated with. And if it had been brought in through a different door, that meant there were multiple entry points to the dome that she might use to escape. Olivia checked her weapons, gathered her most important tools, and prepared for the most dangerous hunt yet. But this time, she wasn't thinking just about survival. She was thinking about turning the night hunter against its masters. The game was changing, and Olivia intended to change the rules entirely. Olivia watched the night hunter from the shadows of a dense thicket. The creature moved with purpose, examining tracks and signs she had deliberately left to mislead it. Unlike the other predators, this one thought about its actions. It tested the ground before crossing open areas. It checked for traps, It was learning her patterns. The hour the chief had promised was nearly up. Soon, the hunt would begin in earnest. Olivia had prepared as best she could. She had coated her skin with mud to mask her scent and covered herself with the rainbow beast's scales to confuse any heat-sensing abilities the hunter might have. Her best weapons were within easy reach: a spear, her bow, and several knives. But her most important preparation wasn't for fighting. While gathering her supplies, Olivia had deliberately passed by the metal access panel she had discovered. She wanted to see if the night hunter would react to it. If the creature was as intelligent as the chief claimed, it might recognize the panel for what it was, a way in and out of the dome. The night hunter completed its survey of the territory just as the dome lights brightened to full-day settings. The hunt had begun. Instead of hiding, Olivia decided on a risky strategy. She would hunt the hunter. She needed to understand this creature's abilities if she was going to outsmart it and possibly use it to escape. She circled through the trees, moving from one patch of cover to another, keeping the night hunter in view. The creature was heading toward her primary shelter, exactly as she had anticipated. She had left obvious signs leading there, along with a surprise. The night hunter approached her shelter cautiously, its faceless head turning slowly as it scanned the area. It prodded the entrance with its energy rod before entering. That was when Olivia's trap activated. A net made from woven vines fell from above, tangling the creature momentarily. It wasn't meant to capture. Olivia knew it would be too strong for that. But to test its reactions, the night hunter didn't panic like an animal would. It immediately slashed at the net with a calculated swing of its weapon. The energy rod cut through the vines like they were nothing. More interesting was what it did next. It examined the cut pieces, then looked up to study how the trap had been set. It was learning from her. Olivia retreated as the creature emerged from her shelter. She needed to lead it away from her backup locations. As she moved, she noticed something on the night hunter's neck, a small device that blinked with a green light. Some kind of tracker or communication device, perhaps. For the next few hours, Olivia played a dangerous game of cat and mouse with the creature. She led it on a twisting path through the dome, testing its abilities. It could climb almost as well as she could. It could move nearly as quietly. But it seemed to rely heavily on sight and sound rather than smell, which gave her an advantage when she waded through the stream to mask her trail. By midday, Olivia had confirmed her theory. The night hunter was receiving guidance. Occasionally it would stop, tilt its head as if listening, then change direction. The aliens were helping it, telling it where to look. That gave Olivia an idea. If the night hunter had a communication link with the aliens, perhaps that link could be used somehow. She needed to capture that device on its neck. As the day wore on, Olivia noticed the night hunter was herding her away from the edges of the dome, keeping her away from the access panels. So they were worried about those after all. Good to know. Evening approached, and Olivia prepared for her most dangerous move yet. She found a clearing near the stream with a large tree overhanging it. In the fading light, she quickly built a fire, larger and brighter than needed. It would draw the night hunter like a beacon. She climbed the tree and waited. An arrow knocked in her bow. The fire below crackled and sent sparks into the darkening air. It didn't take long. The night hunter approached the fire cautiously, weapon ready. It circled the clearing twice before moving closer to examine the flames. Olivia held her breath and aimed carefully. She wasn't aiming to kill, just to disable. Her target was the device on its neck. She released the arrow. It struck perfectly, hitting the small device and cracking it. The night hunter roared, the first sound Olivia had heard it make, and spun around looking for its attacker. Before it could spot her, Olivia was already moving to another position. She dropped from the tree and darted into the underbrush. The night hunter smashed at the broken device on its neck, then froze in place. It seemed confused without guidance from its masters. After a moment, it began moving again, but now its actions were different, more independent, less coordinated. The communication link was broken. Now it was truly just the two of them. Throughout the night, Olivia led the night hunter on a frustrating Chase using every trick she had learned in survival training. By dawn, the creature was visibly tired and increasingly angry. It had lost its calculated precision and was now making mistakes. As morning light filled the dome, Olivia implemented the final stage of her plan. She deliberately led the Night Hunter toward the section of the dome where she had first seen the maintenance access panel. As they approached, she made sure to leave obvious tracks heading in a different direction, away from the panel. The Night Hunter followed the false trail at first, but then stopped abruptly. It turned and looked directly at the wall where the panel was hidden. It knew about the panel. It was drawn to it just as she had hoped. The creature approached the wall and began examining the vines covering the panel. With one swipe of its energy rod, it cut away the covering vegetation, revealing the metal surface beneath. Olivia watched from hiding as the Night Hunter placed its hand on the panel. A soft beeping sound came from the metal, and then, to her amazement, the panel slid open. It was a door, a small maintenance door just as she had suspected, and the Night Hunter had the ability to open it. Before the creature could enter, Olivia made her move. She burst from cover and threw her spear with all her strength. It caught the Night Hunter in the shoulder, driving it forward through the doorway. Olivia sprinted after it, diving through the opening just before the panel began to close automatically. She found herself in a narrow, white corridor. The Night Hunter was already getting to its feet, pulling the spear from its shoulder. Dark blue, blood oozed from the wound. Olivia had only seconds to decide what to do. Fight in this confined space? Look for another exit. Before she could move, an alarm began blaring. Red lights flashed in the corridor. The Night Hunter looked at her, its featureless face somehow conveying confusion. Then it made a decision. Instead of attacking her, it turned and ran down the corridor, away from the sounds of approaching guards. Olivia stood at a crossroads, both literally and figuratively. One direction would lead deeper into the alien facility, possibly toward freedom. The other would lead back to captivity, or worse. She heard the clicking sounds of the aliens approaching from one end of the corridor. In the other direction, the Night Hunter had disappeared around a corner. Olivia smiled grimly. The experiment had just become a full-scale escape attempt, and if there was one thing humans excelled at more than survival, it was breaking free from cages. She turned and ran after the Night Hunter, away from her captors and into the unknown depths of the alien research station. Olivia ran through the white corridors of the alien research station, following the blue blood drops from the wounded Night Hunter. The alarm continued to blare. Red lights flashed along the ceiling. She could hear the clicking sounds of aliens coming from multiple directions now. She needed a plan. Running blindly would only get her captured again. The trail of blood led to a junction where 3 corridors met. The drops went left, so Olivia followed. As she turned the corner, she nearly collided with the Night Hunter. It was waiting for her. For a long moment they stared at each other. The creature still held its energy rod, but it wasn't attacking. Its faceless head tilted slightly, as if curious. "Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" Olivia asked quietly. "Neither of us gets out of here alone." The Night Hunter made a low rumbling sound. It stepped back and gestured with its weapon down the corridor. It wanted her to follow. This was risky. The creature might be leading her into a trap. But Olivia's instincts told her something had changed when she disabled its communication device. Without orders from its masters, the Night Hunter seemed to be making its own choices. She nodded and followed, keeping a safe distance. They moved quickly through the corridors, the Night Hunter seeming to know where it was going. Each time they approached an intersection, it would stop and listen, then choose a path that avoided the approaching aliens. They passed several doors with strange symbols. Through one open doorway, Olivia glimpsed what looked like more biodomes, different environments with different creatures inside. This wasn't just about her. The aliens were conducting experiments on many species. The Night Hunter stopped suddenly, at a large door. It placed its hand on a panel beside the door, and the panel lit up. The door slid open to reveal a large room filled with equipment and control panels. In the center was a raised platform with a chair and what looked like navigation. "Controls a ship?" Olivia whispered. The night hunter growled and nudged her inside. As soon as they entered, it closed the door and locked it using the internal panel. Olivia examined the room. It wasn't a ship, but some kind of control center. Screens on the walls showed different areas of the research station, including the biodome she had escaped from. On one screen, she could see aliens rushing around, clearly searching for her. The night hunter moved to a control panel and began pressing buttons. It seemed to know what it was doing. One by one, red lights on the panel turned green. On the screens, Olivia saw doors opening throughout the facility. In one biodome, a massive creature with tentacles burst through a door. In another, something fast and shadowy raced into a corridor where several aliens were standing. Chaos erupted on every screen. The night hunter was releasing all the test subjects. Creating a distraction, Olivia said, nodding with approval. Smart. While the creature worked at the controls, Olivia explored the room. She found what looked like weapon storage. The cases were locked, but she managed to force one open using a metal tool she found nearby. Inside was something that resembled a pistol, simple enough to figure out which end was dangerous. A new alarm started, different from the first. The screen showed emergency lights flashing in all sectors of the facility. The night hunter made an urgent sound and gestured for her to follow again. It led her to another door at the back of the control room. This one required more effort to open. The creature had to enter a sequence on the panel 3 times before the door finally slid. Open beyond was a small chamber with what were clearly escape pods, 4 sleek capsules built into the wall. Now we're talking, Olivia said. The night hunter went to the nearest pod and opened its hatch. It looked at Olivia, then at the pod, making its intention clear. Olivia hesitated. You're helping me escape. Why? The creature touched the wound on its shoulder, then pointed at her. It made a sweeping gesture that took in the whole facility, then drew a finger across its throat. The message was clear enough. The night hunter had been created to hunt, but it had its own thoughts, its own will. It didn't like being controlled any more than she did. By helping her escape, it was creating maximum chaos for its masters. A loud banging came from the control room door. The aliens had found them. The night hunter pushed her toward the escape pod, its meaning clear. Go now. What about you? Olivia asked. The creature pointed to another pod, then to the controls in the main room. Someone would need to launch the pods and keep the aliens busy. Olivia nodded. She understood sacrifice missions. She climbed into the escape pod, which was designed for a being larger than a human. The night hunter showed her which buttons to press, then closed the hatch. Through the small window, Olivia watched the creature return to the control room. The banging on the door grew louder. The night hunter positioned itself next to the door, energy rod ready. The pod systems came to life around her. A screen showed the launch sequence beginning. The night hunter had started it remotely. The last thing Olivia saw before her pod shot into the launch tube was the control room door bursting open and the night hunter charging toward the entering aliens. Then acceleration pushed her back into the seat as the pod blasted away from the research station. The journey in the escape pod lasted 3 days. It had basic life support, but little else. Olivia spent the time recovering her strength and planning what she would do when, if, she reached human space. On the 3rd day, the pod's systems beeped. A ship was approaching. Olivia tensed, readying the alien weapon she had taken. If the Krivax had found her, she wouldn't be taken again without a fight. But the ship that appeared outside her window wasn't alien. It was a human patrol vessel. She was safe. 2 weeks later, Olivia sat across from Admiral Kate Porter in a secure room at Space Fleet headquarters. She had told her story, all of it, despite the debriefing team's suggestion that she keep quiet about certain details. So let me get this straight, the Admiral said, tapping her finger on the report. An unknown alien species abducted you, put you in a controlled environment with deadly predators, and expected you to die as part of their experiment. Yes, ma'am, Olivia replied. Instead, you survived for nearly a month, eliminated most of their test subjects, escaped into their facility, freed their other experimental creatures, stole an escape pod, and made it back to human space. That's correct. The Admiral was quiet for a moment. Lieutenant Commander Martinez, I've been in Space Fleet for 30 years. I've never heard a story like yours. If the escape pod hadn't contained alien technology we've never seen before, I might think you were suffering from space psychosis. I understand it sounds unbelievable, ma'am. What do you think these aliens, these Kryvacs, will do now? Olivia considered the question carefully. They underestimated humans once. I don't think they'll make that mistake again. If they're smart, they'll stay far away from Earth and human colonies. And if they're not smart, then they'll need to learn another lesson, Olivia said simply. The Admiral studied her face. You're not the same officer who left on that survey mission, are you? Olivia smiled slightly. No, ma'am. They wanted to study human adaptability. They got a first-hand demonstration. 2 days later, Olivia was assigned as the head of a new division, Xenobiological Defense. Its mission was to prepare humanity for encounters with hostile alien life forms. No one was better qualified to lead it. As she looked out the window of her new office at the stars beyond, Olivia wondered if the research chief had survived the chaos of the escape. She almost hoped it had. She wanted it to remember the lesson she had taught them all. They had trapped her with monsters, never realizing she was the real nightmare they should have feared.